Oh, hi. I didn't notice you there. I was too busy putting my invisible food on my invisible plate into the compost. After I talk to you, I'm gonna go put it into the dishwasher area. Here at Common Ground, we have a very special system for lunch that has both composting, recycling, and trash all in one area. This video will help clarify the things that you should have learned in freshman orientation.
Oh, hello. This is where we have our garden scraps here at Common Ground, where we take all our things that we're not using and the extras from what we have from our garden, and we compost them into nice nutrient-filled soil.
When the compost is finished, we have a compost finish pile right here. The reason for composting at Common Ground is to reduce the food waste that we produce. And we bag it, sell it, reuse it in our gardens as well.
Well, I work in the kitchen, help put away dishes, throw away compost, recycle, stuff like that. Yeah.
How often do you see or find mistakes in a compost barrel?
It's usually three times a week.
How full on average is the compost barrel?
It's about like halfway, like about two times a week.
How much does it weigh about? Well, it takes like 2 people to break down.
Yeah, it usually always takes about 2 people. It's usually always heavy, about like 100 pounds heavy. That's what it feels like to me. I wouldn't know unless I put a scale to it.
How much how much of the food scraps do you feel can be contributed to the animals and other things other than compost?
Well, about like 40% of it could go to animals and stuff like that, and then the rest could just go to compost.
The second bucket of compost is where you dump all the things that you can't feed to the animals.
Delicious.
How much of the food scraps that could be contributed to the animals and put in the scrap bucket is instead put in the compost barrel?
So the scrap bucket and the compost barrel are sort of the same thing. So which do you mean, like what percentage of food goes to the animals versus to make compost for the garden?
Like,
is that your question?
What percent of the food that the animals could eat goes into the compost barrel?
Oh.
That could have gone into the scrap
I don't
barrel.
know.
Does it seem like a lot?
I mean, I think that we could be diverting much more of our waste to animal feed. And, you know, knowing exactly the amount would be something that a trash audit could do. And it's also very seasonal because we don't have certain animals year round. Like the pigs are only here for about 6 months of the year, and they can eat quite a bit. I would say, you know, I think to hazard some sort of percentage would be misleading because it would be purely a guess. But I would say that we could be doing a much better job of sorting our waste to divert to the animals.
How often do you see mistakes in the food scraps bucket?
We see a lot of mistakes in the food scraps bucket. And some of that I will attribute to the fact that there's a lot to learn and a lot to know about what animals eat, what's good for them to eat. I think it's a misconception that especially with the pigs, that they'll just eat anything. They're actually very, discriminatory eaters. So it's hard to educate. It's hard to relay all the minutia of information. And so one of the reasons we don't also send as much food waste to the animals as we could is we try and just give more general rules for what we can feed them so that we eliminate a lot of the foods that they won't eat. And uneaten food in their slop buckets in the yard, the foods that they turn their nose from, becomes food for rats and other wildlife, which we have to be very careful that we're not feeding wildlife.
What are the benefits of the food scraps bucket?
Many benefits of the food scrap bucket to the animals. First and foremost, I think our animals benefit from a diverse food source. You know, they are getting their basic grain, which provides very balanced nutrition. But to supplement that with our food scraps, and good food scraps at that, creates a better product. I mean, we are harvesting eggs and meat from various animals, and so enhancing their, their diet means that we benefit in flavor. So as well, the more that they eat from scraps, the less of the grain that they will eat, that they will need actually. So we buy a lot of grain to feed our animals. That grain comes from far away, whether it's the Midwest or Canada. It's full of ingredients that we can't control, like GMO soy and corn, which is virtually impossible to keep out of animal feed these days. And to buy certified organic feed, which would guarantee, as much as possible, that there would be no GMO materials, it's cost prohibitive, so it's very expensive. So if we can give our animals a lot of, not just the food from our plates, but the food that's in the kitchen, that, when you chop vegetables and you have, trim a lot of ends, we're saving money, we're saving, our carbon footprint from having to import a lot of that food, and we're diversifying our animals' diet, which gives them a better tasting product, and they really like it. When you walk over there with a scrap bucket, whether it's the chickens or the pigs, man, they're pretty happy. So we're going to feed the chickens scraps from the kitchen, which you'll see is like one of their favorite things. Lots of vegetables, eggshells. It goes into this black container so that it doesn't attract rats and go all over the yard. And so your salad, vegetables off your plate, scrape it into the bucket for the chickens so that you can make the chickens happy. It's a very powerful thing. So here we are at the pig house. So the pigs particularly love the food off of your plate that you don't eat. Here we have some delicious sandwich ends and coleslaw and apple cores. Yum. I see some salad and pasta down in there. Over here, piggy. Yeah. Well, they want only what the other ones are eating.
Here at Common Ground, there are 2 buckets of compost. One is specifically made for the animals here. Some of the things that are not allowed in this bucket is trash, meat, fish, orange rinds, banana peels, napkins, onion chunks, onion skin, carrots, and cabbage. You can put salad dressings, bread, cheese, vegetables that are smaller chunks, cheese, condiments, potatoes, rice, beans, grains, vegetables, spicy stuff, applesauce, apples, and pears. What is Common Ground's definition of waste?
Well, Common Ground's definition of waste is the same as, the global definition of waste, which is material we don't want. Doesn't necessarily mean it's not usable, it just means we don't want it anymore.
How much waste does Common Ground produce?
Roughly, if we include our recyclables in that waste, 2 5-yard dumpsters full a week, so about 10 yards of waste.
What current methods do we have to help reduce waste?
Well, one of the ways we reduce waste is we recycle most of our, by volume it's the same, it's 5 yards, but by weight the majority of our waste is recyclable material that goes into the recyclable dumpster, and that's materials like corrugated board, plastics, normal printer paper. That all ends up in the recyclable dumpster. And we also compost. So I totally forgot. We also compost, but because that doesn't leave our site, and even though we don't want it in the cats anymore, we still want it. I don't really count that as waste.
How often do recyclable and compostable items get thrown out?
Compostable items, we make about 30. We have about 30 gallons of compost a day. But compostable items don't often get thrown out because everyone pretty much knows where things go. But it does happen. I'd say 1 gallon of compost gets misdirected into the municipal solid waste dumpster as opposed to being into the composted dumpster every day.
How well does common ground recycle?
Pretty well. Pretty well.
Where can we improve?
Litter. So right now we have a really good recycling system that we segregate our trashes and our composts and our animal feeds out from one another. But what we don't do is have enough places around campus that it's convenient for people to dispose of material that they don't want anymore. And because of that, a lot of it ends up getting littered on site. I mean, think about the bus stop. The bus stop is filthy.
Who takes care of our recycling? Where does it go, and what happens to it?
So our recycling, who takes care of it? Grandpa, Marv, the custodial team, Mr. Michael, and myself, the facilities and maintenance team. We deal with collecting it all up and moving it out. Once it's in the dumpster, a company called John's Disposal comes and picks it up. And then they take it to a tipping station where they dump it all out. And it gets yet further separated, baled, which means they put it in these big 1-ton blocks that they squish down. And then it's sold on the commodities market as raw material for manufacturing and for other processes. So it makes money.
Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. This here's the recycling. And here at Common Ground, we do single stream recycling, which includes glass, aluminum, cardboard, paper, plastic, and food containers. However, any cardboard with grease on it cannot go into recycling. Joel will now demonstrate.
And this is plastic.
No. If you're going to put bottles in, you must take the caps off first.
That also counts for any other type of food container. So yogurts or plastic drink cups with aluminum tops, all the caps have to be peeled off, or caps from other bottles must be screwed off and separated and put into the recycling bin to be properly recycled.
Excuse me. Oh, hi there. Here at Common Ground, when we have a last resort, we go to the trash. That is for stuff that doesn't go in the compost or recycling, such as used tissues and stuff. When you don't know whether or not something goes in the compost or recycling, it's very important that you ask the teacher first before you put it in the trash, compost, or recycling.
You see this?
You don't do that.
You don't do this.
This is bad.
No.
Bad.
Bad.
You get shamed for this.
So, during the end of lunch, when you're done separating your scraps, you will bring your plate, your tray, your utensils, and your cups, and bring them over to this area here. You will take your cup and put it into a bin where the cups are. Of course, and obviously self-explanatorily, put your utensils into the tray here. They will all be washed, and this is all a kind of a method that the kitchen staff here use to wash up Common Ground's dishes.
Common Ground, everything is connected, as you can tell from this sign. But on a more serious matter, though we try to make it seem a little bit fun, composting, recycling, and our waste management is all connected. In order to have this nice of a site that we have right now, in order to have all these nice things that we do have, and to get like compost for our gardens and food for our pigs and goats and sheep and chickens, we need to take this seriously. In order to take this seriously, we need to properly do it well. And hopefully this video has taught you how to do it well and how to do it properly, do it right.